You're listening to the IDEAfit Pro Show, the podcast that empowers fitness professionals to reach their highest potential personally and professionally. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting your fitness journey, you're in the right place. Each week, we bring you expert interviews, industry trends, and practical strategies to elevate your fitness career and enhance your impact on clients' lives. I'm your host, Amy Boone-Thompson. I'm the proud owner and CEO of IDEA and a certified fitness professional for over 30 years. Welcome to the IDEAfit Pro Show. I'm Amy Boone-Thompson, and today we are joined by an extraordinary leader who truly represents the multi-dimensional future of our industry. Siri Chilazi is a nearly 20-year veteran presenter, educator, and group fitness instructor, and she is the 2023 IDEA Emerging Trailblazer of the Year. She is a master trainer for Human Reformer Pilates, Rack the Barre, and Mobility Fitness Academy, and she also works with WeGym, which we'll talk about today. She teaches everything from Pilates and Barre to step and HIIT, and she's doing it both in person and online. In her other work, Siri is a behavioral science researcher at Harvard University. She's a global speaker on gender equality, and she's the co-author of the 2025 HarperCollins book, Make Work Fair, which we'll dig into today as well. She is also presenting 3 sessions at the upcoming NERSA and IDEA World Conference, which we can't wait to learn more about. So Siri, welcome to the IDEAfit Pro Show.
Thank you so much, Amy, for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
I cannot wait for our audience to get to know you. I mean, over the years, I've had a chance to get to know you in little bits and pieces, mostly at events. So I'm excited to learn more about your background, what brought you to fitness, and what you're doing today, because you have such an eclectic background that you bring to the industry. So let's start with, how did you get into group fitness to begin with? What brought you here?
I always like to joke that my fitness career began as a 3-year-old when I discovered my mom's collection of Jane Fonda tapes and just played and worked out to them on repeat. But I also grew up as a dancer. I actually started when I was 3, and I did everything from ballet to jazz and modern dance, all the way through high school, and expected to continue as a dancer in college. But that was also the first time when I turned 18, I was on a college campus, I could start taking group fitness classes. Growing up, it was always a big tragedy for me when my mom would go to the gym and I'd be dying to go to class with her, but all the facility policies, said you have to be 18 to enter. So finally, I could take all the group exercise classes that I wanted, and I just fell in love. I mean, I truly did. I think I went to 6 classes a week. And a few months in, our group fitness director, Dawn, who is also a longtime presence at IDEA conferences, came up to me after class and said, Siri, I see you in the front row, killing it and then taking all these classes. Have you ever considered becoming an instructor yourself? And the honest answer was no. My brain had never made that leap. But the moment Dawn said those words, it was so obvious. I was like, of course I want to. And so I'm incredibly grateful to her for being the first of many people in my fitness career for the last 20 years who saw something that I didn't yet see and opened a door. And just by putting it out there into words, gave me something to latch on to say, yes, this is what I want to do. So I got certified my freshman year in college and then started teaching at Harvard University in our on-campus recreation facilities. So University Recreation is incredibly close to my heart because I still teach there today. This is actually 2026 is my 20th anniversary of teaching. And I'm planning to be there for another 40 or 50 years if all goes well. And STEP was actually the very first format that I learned to teach, got certified in, and started teaching. So it's in many ways my first love. And as many people say about STEP, if you can teach that, you can teach anything. Because STEP has it all, right? It's total body. There's equipment involved. There's musicality. You have to be not just on the beat, but on the phrase. You're cueing nonstop. It has to be crisp. It has to be clean. So it was a fantastic training ground for me as a young instructor. And then from there, because I don't know, maybe I'm type A or I'm just a geek. And I love fitness so much. I just kept getting certified in more and more formats. I think I have more than 20 specialty certifications now. And it's really everything from step and kickboxing and HIIT, total body strength, to yoga, Pilates, barre, ballet tone. I've recently been getting into joint strength training, which we'll talk about. I really think that's the next dimension. And then the sort of next edge of our understanding of human bodies and how we move and what prevents movement, right? Why are people in pain? Why are their shoulders clicking? Why are their knees popping when they squat down? Turns out there's something we can do about that, right? We don't just have to accept joint limitations. We can actually move beyond them. So I'm just continuing to always learn, get certified in the new things, learn more, and implement it into all of the classes that I teach.
Amazing. Wow, you have so many formats. I'm in awe over here. Fun fact, I used to work at the Wellbridge Athletic Club and spa in Harvard Square.
You were right across the street from me.
I was. Yeah, I can't believe we never met. I was traveling there. I lived in Colorado, but I was overseeing the Pilates and personal training at that club for many years. So that's
small world. It was a staple. Unfortunately, the club closed after COVID, so it's no longer around, but it's one of those iconic clubs in my neighborhood here.
It was. Okay, so then how did this lead to your first IDEA World, and how did you first learn about IDEA Health and Fitness Association?
You know, IDEA was just one of those iconic brands and names that was always a presence. I had colleagues who would go to the conferences, who would speak about it. So I kind of always was aware of IDEA's existence and IDEA's stature as the preeminent organization and event in fitness. I probably became an IDEA member in the 2010s, as many people do, because I needed liability insurance. And so I purchased mine through IDEA, which I still have, started reading the fitness journal, kind of just getting myself acquainted with all of IDEA's offerings. But if you can believe it, the first time I came to an IDEA World Conference was actually after COVID. I think it was in 2022, wasn't it, when we came back in person? First in Vegas, then in LA, then in Sacramento, and now soon in Maryland. So for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been coming in person, presenting. And to me, maybe the biggest value that I've gained from IDEA is the people and the connections and the networking. Like I mentioned, with Dawn, as I look back on my career and look forward, I think the biggest blessing have been the people who are willing to share their expertise, their advice, their guidance, who, as I said before, can see what you don't yet see and say, you should meet this person. You should take this certification. Why don't you apply for this? It's the same story with the Emerging Trailblazer Award that I won in 2023. I don't even know who nominated me, but I would have never thought to apply, but someone had nominated me. And I got an email from IDEA that said, you've been nominated. Would you like to apply? So again, I'm so grateful to people for kind of pushing me forward at every step in my career. And so many of those people have come into my life as a result of IDEA.
I remember watching you accept your award and hearing your speech on stage. And while you already had quite a long, I guess, trajectory in group fitness, the reason that you really stood out as an emerging trailblazer is because of the work that you have yet to do. And so when you think about trailblazing, yes, it's what you've done, but it's also where you're going. And so I want to talk a little bit about, I know we're going to touch on your work as a researcher, but before we go into that, you talked a little bit about what you're bringing to the conference and where your passions lie right now. What do you see for the future of group fitness, and how can instructors keep building longevity like you have in this industry?
Yeah, Amy, that's a topic that has been obsessively on my mind for the last 5-6 years, especially as our industry has transformed so dramatically as a result of the pandemic and the way everything went fully online at first. And now we're kind of navigating, where does that hybrid balance settle? I am one of those old school instructors, if you will, who is a firm believer in nationally accredited certifications. in continuing education, right? Like continuing to amass your CECs, your CEUs every 2 years to make sure that you stay on the cutting edge, but also an old school instructor in the sense that I'm someone who teaches all these different things. Even at one time, I teach about 5 or 6 weekly classes at the moment in person, and every single one of them is a different format. And what I've seen recently in the industry is we're moving a little bit away from many of those things, especially among the younger cohort of instructors. So people go get certified with a particular barre studio or a particular yoga studio, right? They sign a non-compete that says, I'm only allowed to work for you. I won't work for anybody else. The studio says, we'll teach you everything you need to know, so you don't need to have any kind of nationally accredited certification. And we may do continuing education for you or not, but either way, don't worry about it. And I'm really concerned about those developments because I have seen in my own career, and as I think about the people, colleagues whose classes I love to take, you do have to keep educating yourself and always diversifying what you know. There hasn't been a single conference session ever that I've taken that I wouldn't have been able to apply something to my own work. Even if it's on a topic like nutrition or the fitness business or something that is kind of seemingly divorced from group fitness. And so I'm such a big believer in making those connections and saying, okay, I just took a new Pilates certification. How can I take something that I learned there and apply it to my strength training class? Or I got certified a few years ago in rebounding, in trampoline. And my facilities don't currently have trampolines, so I'm not able to teach that format. But there's really cool things about cueing, about core engagement that I learned in that certification that I am bringing to my Pilates classes and to my step classes. So as we look forward in the industry, I want to, in a way, bring back that focus on being a holistic practitioner, whether you're a personal trainer, a group fitness instructor, is making sure that you don't pigeonhole yourself just to one format or just to mind body or just to cardio. It's so important for our own longevity, but it also makes us better and well-rounded professionals. The other thing that I'm passionate about, as I mentioned, I've been in campus rec for 20 years. It's incredibly close to my heart. I was so excited when I heard that NERSA and IDEA are partnering for this year's conference, because I was like, oh my gosh, it's my two worlds coming together. But I'm really passionate about making sure that we continue to bring in the next generation of people, instructors, participants, leaders into this industry. Because I think it's a more exciting time than ever before to be a fitness instructor, because there's so many different things you can do. Yes, you can teach in person. You can teach online for an app. You can have your own YouTube channel. You can start your own app. You can be a master trainer. Like I feel like there's more paths than at any other time in the last 2 decades that I've been in this industry to kind of find your niche and find your spot. So I just want to make sure that the up and coming folks know that and can find their own lane and then keep evolving like me. I don't know what's personally around the corner for me in the next 5 or 10 years, because new opportunities, exciting things are sort of coming up around the corner all the time. So I'm just ready, keeping my eyes and ears open, ready to jump at the next exciting opportunity.
Yeah, I really love what you said about one, bringing in the next generation, because that's what this partnership this year is all about. I sought out where can we find the students who are entering the workforce? How can we build stronger bridges to help them into commercial fitness from college rec? And even for the students who are studying in kinesiology and they're looking for careers, like IDEA wants to build those bridges. So thank you for shouting out that and recognizing that.
Absolutely.
But I also think, like you said, it's our responsibility to show these emerging fitness professionals what they don't know, because what they're seeing is that one exciting format that brings them in, and that's fantastic. For me, I came in as a certified personal trainer to the industry, and then I found mat Pilates, and then I found all these other exciting cycling and all these other classes. But people had to inform me that they existed. And so I think that's our responsibility next, is to help. It's great that you want to teach barre and that you're at this studio and you came into the industry that way, but there's so much more that you can experience and evolve. I love the word you used, evolve. So amazing.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about your other career. So, yes, you're a group fitness instructor on a campus at Harvard with all of these amazing formats that you teach, but you also are doing research and you've written a book. So, tell our audience all about this important work that you're doing there at Harvard.
Yeah, I've sort of always had these two careers in parallel. So as I mentioned, became an instructor first in college. I studied chemistry and physics, which has nothing to do with anything, nothing to do with fitness, nothing to do with what I'm doing now. But I was always a geek. And so I loved school and I loved movement. And I just refused to accept that I would ever have to choose one or the other. But I always felt like I want to find a way to combine them. And actually, that's something that I often tell the up and coming instructors that I mentor and coach is the amazing thing about fitness as a career is it is so flexible. Fitness exists anywhere and everywhere in the world. So it doesn't matter where you move, you can do it there and you can also do it online. And it's a career that flexes. Maybe it's a busy season of life and you only teach, one pop-up class online a month. Or then it's a slower season of life and you go into a studio and teach 10 weekly classes in person. So there's so many ways to be engaged in fitness. And that's kind of how it's been for me too over the years, is it's ebbed and flowed as my academic career has ebbed and flowed with peak periods of busyness and then slightly slower stretches. But as you mentioned, for the last 10 years since undergraduate and then graduate school, I've been a full-time academic researcher at Harvard Kennedy School. My background is as a behavioral scientist. So I basically study why humans behave the way we behave. And if we want to change people's behavior, our own or other people's, how do we do that? And I'm specifically interested in workplaces and how we can create workplaces that present a genuinely level playing field for everybody to thrive. I liken it to a sports race. Like think of the 100-meter dash at the Olympics, right? We use that race to determine who the fastest sprinter is because all the runners start at the same starting line and 100 meters later, they cross the same finish line. And in between, they run the race under the same conditions. They're wearing basically identical sneakers and outfits, and they're on the same track. So whoever crosses the finish line first, we can say, yep, you are definitely the fastest runner today. But the real world is more like some people getting moved to the grass next to the track. And my runners in the audience will know that running on grass is a lot slower than running on a high performance track. Or some competitors having their shoes removed. And again, running barefoot, a little slower than running in high performance sneakers. Or some people having their start lines moved 20 meters back, right? So instead of running 100 meters, you have to run 120. There's just a lot of evidence from fields like economics, behavioral economics, psychology, organizational behavior that shows that there's a lot of these sort of biases and often unintentional designs that make it easier for some people to succeed at work and make it a lot harder for other people to succeed at work. So my life's mission is to make sure that by designing better hiring practices, better ways of evaluating people's performance, more objective promotion processes, even finding ways to conduct our meetings better, that we make sure that everybody at work actually gets to start on the same starting line, finish at the same finish line, and experience the same conditions as they're working.
Mm. I've often been in rooms of a lot of CEOs and owners of clubs, and I remember distinctly being in Chicago at a CEO roundtable. There were 2 women in the entire room for the fitness industry of 100 CEOs, and not much diversity, I might add. And so that really left an impression on me about our industry specifically and what we're doing to create more gender equity and more equity for everyone to have the opportunity to be an owner of their facility should they choose. So I'm just curious what you're seeing in our space specifically, and what could someone who's listening might take your book and maybe learn what can they do to create more equity in their own community or in their own business.
Yeah, fitness is one of those interesting industries like retail, like healthcare, which is actually female dominated on the whole. But when we look to leadership positions, when we look to managerial position at clubs, like you said, owners of facilities, the owners of all the big fitness brands, it's often men at the top who are sort of reaping the disproportionate benefit of the work of often all the majority women underneath them. So I'm actually very, very passionate about that. The book that I co-authored with my colleague Iris Bennett, Make Work Fair, the idea is that research has shown that we can often make super small tweaks to the way we work in order to make our decision making much more objective and fair. So hiring is a great example. The most common ways of hiring are interviews, right? And resume reviews, having people submit like a CV or a written application. And research actually shows that those are two of the least predictive ways of hiring. So people's performance in an interview has a very low correlation to their eventual performance on the job. Something that research has shown to be a much better method of evaluation is actually what we call a work sample test. So an exercise or a task that's designed to mimic the job as closely as possible. Think of a fitness audition, right? You're hiring a group fitness instructor. Instead of sitting down with them and talking about, so where have you taught before and what have you learned? Just have them teach a 5-minute snippet of a class. So actually that's something that we're generally doing very well in that part of the fitness industry, in the front line. But what about when we're hiring group exercise managers and facility directors, right? Are we applying in those more corporate and office-based roles? Are we applying that same methodology? And instead of just interviewing people, having them complete tasks or exercises that tests those precise skills that we need them to have. Another wonderful study that I often share comes from Australia, where one of their largest employers saw gender gap in people's willingness to apply for leadership positions after they had applied once and been rejected. They saw that men who had been rejected for one leadership position were almost twice as likely to reapply for another one than women. So this organization was already emailing those candidates saying, thanks for applying. We're so sorry you didn't get the job, but there's many similar openings in the future. Please reapply using this link. And they added just one sentence to that email that said, you were in the 20% of candidates, so please reapply. And that one piece of information closed the gender gap in reapplications. So the other kind of research shows that transparency and removing ambiguity of what does it take to succeed? How well are you doing compared to others? Do you have a realistic shot at this? Can be an amazing way to level the playing field, whether that's for promotions, in performance evaluations, in encouraging people to apply for new jobs, or anything of the like. So oftentimes the fixes are really simple and easy to implement.
Amazing. I feel like this could be a session at World. Have you taught this session at a World yet? No.
And I actually did a session last year that kind of merged some of these insights from behavioral science, some of the research that I do, and applied it to the fitness context. And one thing that really surprised me positively in the session, it was the final session of the entire conference on Saturday afternoon at like 5 p.m. But number one, the room was packed. And number two, it was actually majority men. Because, to our point earlier, a lot of the people in leadership positions who are in charge of hiring, who are in charge of paying people, in charge of setting strategy for the company, for the facility, are still men. So I remember having some excellent conversations in that session, which was wonderful.
Fantastic. Well, we'll have to bring that one back because I know our audience would
anytime. I would love that.
They're going to be so excited. And also, if you're listening, we will put a link to where you can pick up Siri's book, Make Work Fair. And then you can bring it to NERSA and IDEA World this year and have her autograph it.
I would love that.
So let's transition into your 3 sessions that you will be teaching this year at our event. And I'm so glad that you talked about the coming together of your 2 lives. So your campus rec now coming together with IDEA World. It's going to be an incredible combination of audiences, but these are both of your worlds merging. So tell us what your sessions are and what can our attendees expect?
Oh, Amy, I am so excited for this lineup for this year. So my first session is on Wednesday, April 8th. It's called Sticky No More, Unlocking Shoulder Strength Through Mobility. Like I said, I became last year the master trainer for Mobility Fitness Academy, and I've been on this joint mobility and joint strength journey for the last 4 or 5 years. I really think this is the next frontier of our understanding of movement, because for most of us, regardless of what certification we hold, what formats we were trained in, our training in anatomy, physiology, and movement science was totally focused on muscles and maybe soft tissues, right? And fascia. But it was all about, muscles and soft tissue, and then, just protect the joint. And if someone's knees hurt when they lunge, reduce range of motion or have them do a squat instead. Or if their wrists hurt when they're planking, do your plank on your elbows, right? So we kind of accommodate around these joint issues without ever really tackling them. But when we grow older, we replace joints, right? We don't replace muscles. Ding, ding, ding. That to me was a light bulb moment when I said, oh my gosh. And how does it then make sense that we're just focused on thinking about the muscles and not about the role of joints and the role of the nervous system, the brain in movement? So that session is going to be all about that when it comes to upper body strength training. I'm so excited for that. Then on Thursday, April 9th morning, I am teaming up again with my partner in crime and fellow Trailblazer Award winner, Ruben Ferreira Thixton, for a workout that's called Defying Limits, the Ultimate Workout. Ruben and I partnered on a couple of sessions at last year's IDEA World, and we had so much fun. We said we have to bring this back. And so for this year, we're doing something really new and different, which is it's going to be a workout that can be done fully in the chair or fully on the floor. And we're going to show you how you can teach a class to all abilities, all levels at the same time, whether you're in the chair or on the floor. And if there's anybody listening who has never tried a chair-based workout, I really urge you to come because they are so much more challenging than you think. I mean, the first time I did core in a chair, I was humbled to the max. I was like, wait, what is happening? So join us for that. It's at 7 a.m. on Thursday morning. And then my last session is that afternoon, Thursday afternoon, and it's called Prop-Powered Pilates, Elevating the Mat Experience. I've been a Pilates instructor certified since 2009, many different certifications. I'm currently a master trainer for Human Reformer Pilates. And one of the things I'm really passionate about when it comes to Pilates specifically is it's one of those trendy formats. I mean, it's been around forever, almost 100 years, but it's really experienced a massive renaissance in the last couple of years. And so now everything right and left is called Pilates. Amy, have you noticed this?
Yes.
On social media? People are doing squats with 10-pound weights and they're like, Pilates! And I think for me, because I do teach so many different formats, it's really important for me to maintain their integrity. So I might do a roll up, which is one of the classic Pilates exercises. I might do that same move in a Pilates class, but also in a regular mat-based core class and a strength training class. But there should be something different about how I cue it, how I present it, how people experience that movement in those 3 classes, right? So in this Pilates session, we're going to talk about absolutely how to use props to get creative, but also how to stay true to the spirit and the foundations, the 6 foundational principles of Pilates.
Amazing. I was in the room last year and I didn't take the class, but I came in the room.
I know, we saw you pop in.
And I was just telling, I'm going to try to find the video and hopefully for those watching this episode, they could see the class. It was so much fun, so much energy. I mean, your personality, Ruben's personality in the room. It was so lit. Everybody was having so much fun. And the other thing that I walked away with was like, I could tell you were a dancer. From the minute I saw you move, I was like, look at her point with her foot and like her proper dance moves, bringing it to the class. But these 3 sessions at NERSA and IDEA World this year are going to be probably very full, I'm going to guess.
I hope so.
I would encourage everybody to go register now. We're still in early bird, so hopefully you can get in and then pick this class to attend these 3 classes. They will be amazing. Is there something else that you could share with this audience who may not know what Campus Rec will be bringing? Like who are the people in your world at Campus Rec who will be coming to this event?
That's such an interesting or such a great question, because one of the most common misconceptions I hear about campus rec is that it's all for students and by students. And at least at Harvard, where I've taught for 20 years at 3 different gyms, our most loyal participant group is actually the staff who work at the university, followed by graduate students, and then followed by undergraduate students. And likewise, our group of instructors and people who work in all kinds of roles at these facilities, it's definitely some students, but we also have, people into their 80s and 90s working at the front desk, like professionals of all kinds of backgrounds. So it's actually a much more diverse world than you would think. And something that we, at least at Harvard, actually kind of struggle with or are always looking to do is to engage that roughly 20% of our undergraduate students who don't do any kind of physical activity. It's totally shocking, right? A quarter of our students are student athletes, and they sometimes come to class too, which is great. Yeah. And then about 50% of our undergraduate students are recreational exercisers, whether that's coming to group fitness, working out on their own, participating in an intramural sports league or something like that. And then that last quarter don't do anything. So it's a really diverse population in terms of activity levels, in terms of interest, and in terms of age and life experience. I would say probably a broader spectrum than you see at most general fitness facilities. And that's what keeps me hooked, because it's always interesting and there's always something new to do and learn.
I'm so glad you pointed that out, because I've been trying to explain that as well, about the instructors who are attending have these real world experience and broad levels that they're teaching to. It's not like it is all students or student athletes. But as well, one of the exciting things we're doing this year is we're having a career fair where universities might be hiring for people for their rec departments or for their athletic department. And then mainstream commercial fitness will be there looking to campus rec to pull them into mainstream. So if you are interested in working in campus rec, most of the universities across our country are at this event, because this NERSA is the leader in intramural and campus rec. And so I would just offer that this is a great opportunity to interview, to meet new people. And we always look forward to that at a typical IDEA world. But this time, so many new friends that we can interact with. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah. And it's such a golden opportunity, because getting your first job is always the hardest, right? It's like, great, you got your beautiful ACE or AFA certification or NASM or whatever, but you have zero experience. So the moment you get your first job, every job after that will be so much easier, because you have not only the credential, but you can point to an actual track record of a job that you've already had and the experience that you've already gained. So the more we can help people just with that hardest first step, I think the more we strengthen that funnel of people coming into our industry, like we talked about earlier.
So good. Okay, I have a few more questions and then we'll let you go. This is a little bit of like a rapid fire. What is your favorite format to teach right now, since you have so many?
It's like picking a favorite child. The honest answer is the fact that I teach multiple. If I had to teach 10 Zumba classes a week, I'd get so bored. But when I get to teach 1 or 2 along with other things, so it's the variety is the answer.
Okay. And this one, I didn't prep you on these, by the way, so thank you for being a good sport. What is the very best thing about being at Harvard, on Harvard campus? Like, what do you love about this?
It's the people and it's the spirit of excellence, So yes, the faculty are world class. The students are the best of the best. But you go to a dining hall, and even the staff who work there take it so seriously and have such pride in their work, because they're like, well, we're helping the academic mission of this university by giving students a time back that they don't have to worry about cooking and eating nutritious meals, because we do it for them. So by taking care of them, we enable more research, more discoveries, better learning. And it's the same, the people at the fitness facility. We feel directly like we're contributing to the academic mission of the university, because healthy, sane mind in a healthy body. So it's that spirit of excellence that surrounds me every day that I draw so much inspiration from.
Amazing. And then my last question is, what's the best career advice that you've ever received?
This is tough because there's so many. Okay, I'm going to say a few things quickly. One is, You are in the driver's seat of your career. No one else is going to care about you and your accomplishments and what you need to learn and what you're good at as much as you do. So don't rely on other people, to help, to guide, to coach, whatever, but you need to be asking. You need to be proactive and saying, what do I need to learn? Where do I need to go next? Who do I need to meet? What's missing, right? What are my gaps? What are my biggest strengths that I need to double down? So that was transformational for me when I learned it in my first full-time job straight out of college. And then the other thing I would say is, this is more of a learning I've had along the way. Relationships are everything. So investing in people, and not just, random, superficial, quick 5-minute meetings, but actually investing the time in getting to know people, identifying common ground, staying in touch over the course of years. Every single opportunity I've had, either in my academic career or in my fitness career, has come through a relationship like this. And sometimes it's on a 10-year lag.
That's I could not emphasize that enough. And in fact, while I was listening to all of your answers today, I have 2 introductions I want to make for you after this show. Of
Fantastic.
Other people in other industries, even where your work would be beneficial to them and where they're going. So it's exactly right. Relationships are king and queen, and that's honestly where you need to be investing. Is there anything that you'd like to share with the audience that we did not talk about yet today before we close the show?
I would just like to offer my thoughts on how to make the most of the NERSA and IDEA World Conference. I've posted about this on Instagram before, but I often talk to younger folks in the industry who are coming to conferences for the first time, and they're so overwhelmed. They're looking at the schedule and saying, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. So I've developed a couple of tips that are helpful, and I hope everybody listening will join us in person in April. The first is, take some sessions that are related to the things that you're already doing. So if you teach barre, take a couple barre sessions, right? If you're a personal trainer, take my session on shoulder joint mobility, because that's going to be relevant to every single one of your clients. The second piece is, take something that's totally unrelated to anything that you're doing right now. Something that's seemingly out of left field, because you will be amazed. There's going to be some nuggets from those sessions that you can directly apply to what you're doing, but you don't know unless you go there. So take something that is related to what you're doing, take something totally unrelated. And then third, try to make at least 3 to 5 new legitimate connections over the weekend. People with whom you actually exchange contact information, not just, oh, let me passively follow you on Instagram, but get their phone number, get their email, learn a little bit more about what they do. And either you might be able to somehow help them out or be a valuable resource, or they might be able to help you, or perhaps ideally both ways. And if you do that every time you go to a conference, oh my goodness, your network, your relationships will grow so much, and so will your learning and your knowledge.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Siri, for joining us today.
Thank you, Amy. This is so fun. I feel like you and I could keep talking forever, but soon we will. See you in April.
But you have to come and meet Siri in person in April. Thank you again for sharing your journey from IDEA Trailblazer and Harvard researcher, from Pilates master trainer to author. Your story reminds us that fitness professionals don't have to fit into one box. We can evolve, we can expand and lead in multiple spaces. So thank you for sharing your knowledge and expertise. We can't wait to see you at the 2026 NERSA and IDEA World Conference and Expo for your 3 sessions that you're teaching there. And thank you, everybody, for listening. This podcast is brought to you by IDEA Health and Fitness Association, where fitness is our business. We hope you have enjoyed this episode of the IDEAfit Pro Show. If you did, we'd love for you to follow, share, and give us a 5-star rating. Be sure to explore IDEAfit's vast library of past episodes featuring insights from top experts and thought leaders across a variety of topics. There truly is something for everyone. IDEAfit Pro Show is part of the IDEAfit Podcast Network. A huge thank you to our entire team at IDEA Health and Fitness Association. Copyright 2025, all rights reserved. Reproduction without permission is prohibited.